Episode 16, The Trap Springs. The clock on Richard Morrison's wall read 12:47 a.m. when the plan finally came together. Alex sat at the head of the conference table in her father's office, surrounded by the people who'd become her war council. Marcus stood behind her, one hand resting on her shoulder, a gesture of solidarity that had become natural over these past few weeks. Sophie and Natasha occupied the chairs to her left, Sophie's laptop open as she monitored the digital breadcrumbs they'd been laying all evening. Richard paced near the windows, his phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with Detective Inspector Okonkwo. The trap was set. Now they just needed Julia Hartwell to take the bait. "She's accessed the server," Sophie said, her voice tight with concentration. "Third time in the past hour. She's definitely watching." Alex felt Marcus's fingers tighten on her shoulder. They'd spent the last 6 hours constructing an elaborate fiction, a series of encrypted emails, supposedly between Alex and Richard, discussing their inability to prove Julia's involvement and their decision to accept defeat at tomorrow's hearing. The emails had been deliberately sloppy, easy enough for someone with Julia's technical skills to decrypt, designed to make her believe she'd won. "The question is whether she'll believe it," Natasha said. She looked exhausted, her usually immaculate appearance disheveled after hours of crisis management. "She's been planning this for 2 years. She won't be easy to fool." "She doesn't need to believe it completely," Alex replied. "She just needs to believe it enough to make a mistake, to come out of hiding and gloat. That's what narcissists do. They can't resist showing you they've won." Richard ended his call and turned back to the group. Okonkwo's team is in position. They've got surveillance on Julia's flat in Hampstead and her office at the Institute. The moment she makes a move, they'll know. "What about the Bar Standards Board?" Marcus asked. "Even if we catch her tonight, can we stop the hearing?" "Elizabeth is working on that," Richard said. "If we can prove the evidence was fabricated by someone with a documented history of harassment and mental instability, we can request an emergency adjournment. But we need proof, and we need it before 9 a.m. Alex's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart rate spiked. "It's her," she said, putting the phone on speaker. The voice that came through was cultured, controlled, and dripping with satisfaction. "Hello, Alexandra. Still at Chambers at this hour? How dedicated. Or perhaps just desperate." "Julia." Alex kept her voice steady. "I was wondering when you'd call. Were you? How delightful. I do appreciate an audience for my work." A pause. "I've been reading your emails. Such a shame you couldn't find the evidence you needed. But then you were never quite as clever as you thought you were you?" Alex caught Sophie's eye. Sophie nodded. They were tracing the call. "You won," Alex said, injecting defeat into her voice. "Is that what you want to hear? You destroyed my career, my reputation, everything I worked for. Congratulations." "Oh, Alexandra?" Julia's laugh was cold. "You still don't understand? This was never about your career. This was about making you feel what I felt. When I watched him with you at that engagement party, when I realized he looked at you the way he never looked at me." "Julia, I didn't even know Marcus 2 years ago. But you do now, don't you? And he's there with you right now. I can see the lights in your father's office. All of you, huddled together like you can somehow stop what's already in motion." Marcus leaned forward. "Julia, this is Marcus. Whatever you think happened between us, don't." The word was sharp as a blade. "Don't you dare speak to me. You don't get to explain or apologize or make this better. You used me. You made me believe there was something real between us, and then you discarded me like I was nothing, like I was just another conquest. That's not. 2 years, Marcus. 2 years I spent watching you with an endless parade of women, never committing, never caring. Until her. Until Alexandra fucking Morrison walked into your life and suddenly you're capable of a relationship. Suddenly, you're the devoted boyfriend. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Knowing I wasn't enough to make you want to be better, but she was?" Alex felt Marcus flinch. She reached up, covering his hand with hers. "So you recruited Rebecca?" Alex said. "You found someone else who was obsessed with Marcus and you used her. Rebecca was a means to an end. Useful for the initial surveillance, for the distraction, but ultimately too unstable, too emotional. She actually believed she loved him." Julia's contempt was palpable. "I never made that mistake." What I feel for Marcus isn't love, it's recognition. He showed me exactly what I was worth to him. Nothing. And I wanted him to know what it felt like. By destroying me. By destroying the woman he actually loves. By making him watch as everything you've built crumbles. By forcing him to choose between his career and yours. By ensuring that even if you survive this, you'll never trust him the same way again. That's the real punishment, Alexandra. Not the hearing. Not the fabricated evidence. The slow poison of doubt that will eat away at your relationship until there's nothing left. Sophie held up her phone. Got her. Hampstead Flat. Police moving in. You're wrong, Alex said. About Marcus, about us, and about whether you've won. A pause. When Julia spoke again, her voice had changed. Sharper, more alert. What did you just do? I gave you exactly what you wanted. An audience for your confession. And a chance to prove how clever you are. Alex smiled grimly. The only problem? This call is being recorded, Julia, and Detective Inspector Okonkwo's team is at your door right now. The line went dead. Richard's phone rang immediately. He answered, listened, then looked at Alex. They've got her. She tried to run, but they were waiting in the back stairwell. She's in custody. The relief that flooded through Alex was so intense it left her dizzy. Marcus's arms came around her from behind, and she leaned back against him, letting herself feel the victory for just a moment. We need that recording transcribed and delivered to the Bar Standards Board by 8 a.m., Richard said, along with a formal request for adjournment pending criminal investigation. Elizabeth, Natasha, I need you both on this. Already drafting, Natasha said, her fingers flying across her laptop keyboard. We'll have it ready. Sophie closed her laptop. I'm going to check on Rebecca. She deserves to know it's over. As the others dispersed to handle the aftermath, Alex finally allowed herself to breathe. The hearing might still happen, but now they had leverage. Now they had the truth. Marcus turned her chair to face him, his hands cupping her face. You were brilliant. I was terrified. You were both. He kissed her forehead. Alex, what she said, was designed to hurt us both. I know. She met his eyes. But there was truth in it too, wasn't there? About your past. About how you were before we met. He didn't look away. Yes, I was exactly who she said I was. I used women. I avoided commitment. I told myself I was being honest about what I wanted, but really, I was just afraid of being vulnerable, of being hurt, of being abandoned like my mother abandoned my father. And now? Now I'm more afraid of losing you than I am of being hurt. Now I understand that love isn't about protecting yourself. It's about choosing someone and trusting them to choose you back. Every day. His thumb traced her cheekbone. You changed me, Alex. Not because you're somehow better than the women who came before, but because you made me want to be better. You made me want to be the man who deserves you. Alex felt tears sting her eyes. Marcus, I love you, he said simply. And I know this isn't the most romantic moment, standing in your father's office at 1 a.m. after nearly having your career destroyed. But I need you to know. Whatever Julia said, whatever doubt she tried to plant, I love you. Only you. Always you. She pulled him down to her, kissing him with all the fear and relief and love that had been building inside her for weeks. His hands slid into her hair, and she forgot about the hearing, about Julia, about everything except the feeling of his mouth on hers and the solid warmth of his body. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Marcus rested his forehead against hers. Come home with me. You need sleep, and you've been living out of chambers for days. I should stay. Help with the documents. Richard, Natasha, and Elizabeth have it covered. You need rest, and I need you. He kissed her again, softer this time. Please. Alex nodded. She was exhausted, emotionally wrung out, and the thought of Marcus's bed, of his arms around her, of being somewhere safe, was overwhelming. They gathered their things quietly, leaving Richard and the others to their work. The drive to Marcus's Mayfair flat was silent, both of them too tired for conversation. But his hand stayed linked with hers the entire way, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. Inside his flat, the familiar space felt like a sanctuary. Alex headed for the bathroom, needing to wash away the day's tension. The hot water was bliss, and she stood under the spray for long minutes, letting it ease the knots in her shoulders. When she emerged, wrapped in Marcus's robe, she found him in the bedroom, stripped down to his boxer briefs, sitting on the edge of the bed. He looked up as she entered, and something in his expression made her breath catch. "Come here," he said softly. She crossed to him, and he pulled her between his legs, his hands sliding up her thighs beneath the robe. His touch was gentle, reverent, as though she might break. "I almost lost you today," he murmured, pressing his lips to her stomach through the fabric. "When Julia was talking, when I realized how close she came to destroying everything we have." But she didn't. Alex ran her fingers through his hair. "We stopped her. Together." He looked up at her, his eyes dark with emotion. "I need you, Alex. I need to feel you, to know this is real, that we're real." She understood. The adrenaline was still coursing through both of them, the fear and relief mixing into something primal. She let the robe fall open, and his breath hitched. His hands slid up her sides, pushing the fabric off her shoulders. It pooled at her feet, leaving her naked before him. For a moment, he just looked at her, his gaze traveling over her body with an intensity that made her skin flush. Then, he pulled her down onto the bed, rolling so she was beneath him. His mouth found hers in a kiss that was hungry, desperate. She arched into him, her hands sliding down his back, feeling the play of muscle beneath skin. He kissed a trail down her throat, his teeth grazing her collarbone. When his mouth closed over her breast, she gasped, her fingers tightening in his hair. He took his time, his tongue circling her nipple until she was writhing beneath him. "Marcus," she breathed. "Please." He lifted his head, his eyes meeting hers. "Tell me what you need. You. Just you." He kissed her again as his hand slid between her legs, finding her already wet. She moaned into his mouth as his fingers began to move, slow and deliberate, building the tension inside her until she thought she might shatter. When he finally settled between her thighs, she was trembling. He paused, his weight braced on his forearms, his eyes searching hers. "I love you," he said again. "I love you too," she whispered. He entered her slowly, and they both gasped at the sensation. For a moment, neither of them moved, just savoring the connection. Then he began to move, a slow, deep rhythm that had her clinging to him, her nails digging into his shoulders. It wasn't frantic or rushed. It was deliberate, almost reverent, a reassurance that they were both alive, both safe, both here. Every thrust was a promise, every touch a declaration. When she came, it was with his name on her lips and his eyes locked on hers. He followed moments later, his body shuddering as he buried his face in her neck. Afterward, they lay tangled together, their breathing gradually slowing. Marcus's hand traced lazy patterns on her spine, and Alex felt herself drifting toward sleep. "Whatever happens at the hearing," Marcus murmured, "we'll face it together." "Together," she agreed. But even as exhaustion finally claimed her, a small part of Alex's mind remained alert. Julia was in custody, but the hearing was still scheduled for 9 a.m. The fabricated evidence was still on file, and while they had Julia's confession, they still needed to prove that every document, every recording, every transaction in that submission was false. They'd won the battle. But the war wasn't over yet, and as she finally fell asleep in Marcus's arms, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that Julia had one more card to play, something they hadn't anticipated, something that would make tomorrow's hearing even more dangerous than they'd thought. The real question was, what? Alex's phone rang at 6:15 a.m., dragging her from the first real sleep she'd had in days. Marcus groaned beside her, his arm tightening around her waist. She grabbed the phone. "Richard." "Dad?" "Alex." His voice was grim. "We have a problem. Julia made bail an hour ago." Alex sat bolt upright, her heart hammering. "What? How?" Her solicitor argued she wasn't a flight risk, that she had no criminal record, and that the evidence against her was circumstantial. The magistrate agreed. She's out on electronic monitoring, but she's out. Alex felt Marcus tense beside her, and the hearing is in less than 3 hours. There's more. The Bar Standards Board received an additional submission at 5 a.m. this morning. More evidence, more allegations, all of it time-stamped before Julia's arrest, which means her solicitor is arguing it can't be excluded just because she's now under investigation. What kind of evidence? Audio recordings of you supposedly discussing how to cover up the original Chambers leak, how to frame Sarah Winters, how to manipulate the investigation. Richard's voice was tight with controlled fury. They're fake, obviously. But they're good fakes, and the board has to consider them. Alex closed her eyes. Of course. Julia would have had contingencies, backup plans. She'd been preparing for 2 years. She wouldn't leave herself vulnerable to a single point of failure. What do? We go to the hearing. We present Julia's confession. We argue that everything she submitted is fabricated, and we hope the panel believes us. A pause. Alex, I won't lie to you. This is going to be difficult. Even with the confession, even with her arrest, the evidence she's compiled is extensive and sophisticated. We're going to have to prove it's false, piece by piece, and we have less than 3 hours to prepare. I'll be there in 45 minutes, Alex said. She ended the call and turned to Marcus, who was already getting out of bed. I heard, he said. I'm coming with you. Marcus, you don't have to. Yes, I do. He pulled on his clothes with quick, efficient movements. You're not facing this alone. Not today. Not ever. 20 minutes later, they were in Marcus's car, speeding through the early morning London traffic toward Holborn. Alex's mind raced, trying to think of strategies, arguments, ways to counter Julia's final gambit. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered without thinking. Hello? Good morning, Alexandra. Julia's voice was perfectly composed, as though she hadn't been arrested 6 hours ago. Surprised to hear from me? What do you want, Julia? To make you an offer. One final chance to avoid complete destruction. A pause. Withdraw from the hearing. Admit to the Bar Standards Board that you've been under severe stress, that your judgment has been compromised, that you need time away from practice. Take a voluntary suspension, and I'll withdraw the evidence. Why would you do that? Because I've made my point. You've lost, Alexandra. Your reputation is in ruins. Your career is hanging by a thread. The man you love has seen exactly what being with you costs. That's enough for me. I don't need to watch you be formally disbarred. I just need you to know that I won. Alex felt Marcus's hand find hers. She looked at him, and he shook his head firmly. No, Alex said. I'm not withdrawing. I'm not admitting to anything I didn't do, and I'm going to prove that every piece of evidence you submitted is a lie. Are you? Julia's voice hardened. You have 2 hours and 40 minutes until that hearing, Alexandra, and I have 2 years' worth of fabricated evidence. Audio recordings with your voice saying things you never said. Financial transactions showing payments you never made. Emails with your digital signature discussing ethics violations you never committed. All of it time-stamped, date-stamped, verified by forensic analysis. Can you prove it's all false in 2 hours and 40 minutes? Watch me. I'll be watching, yes, from my flat on electronic monitoring, unable to attend the hearing in person, but that's fine. I don't need to be there. My work speaks for itself. A pause. Goodbye, Alexandra. Enjoy your last morning as a barrister. The line went dead. Marcus squeezed her hand. You can do this. Can I? Alex's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus, what if she's right? What if I can't prove it's all fake in time? What if the panel believes her? Then we appeal, we fight, we keep fighting until everyone knows the truth. He pulled into the underground parking at Morrison and Blackwood. But that's not going to happen, because you're brilliant, and you have an entire team of brilliant people backing you up. And Julia made one critical mistake. What's that? She underestimated you. Again. He turned off the engine and faced her. She thinks you'll break under pressure, that you'll doubt yourself, that you'll give up. But I've watched you over these past few weeks, Alex. I've seen you face down kidnappers and stalkers and conspiracies. I've seen you at your most vulnerable and your most fierce. And the one thing I know for certain is that you don't break. You bend, you adapt, you strategize, but you don't break. Alex leaned across the console and kissed him, drawing strength from his certainty. I love you. I love you too. Now let's go destroy Julia Hartwell's case. They rode the elevator to the 15th floor in silence. When the doors opened, they found the conference room already full. Richard, Elizabeth, Natasha, and Sophie were all there, surrounded by laptops, documents, and coffee cups. Richard looked up as they entered. Good. You're here. We have a lot of work to do and not much time to do it. Alex hung up her coat and rolled up her sleeves. Then let's get started.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.